My brother and his wife announced at my baby shower that I was their surrogate. Their perfect marriage didn't survive what came next. I was 7 months pregnant, surrounded by pink balloons when Veronica stood up with her champagne glass. My sister-in-law's smile was too bright, her voice too rehearsed. "We want to thank everyone for celebrating our miracle," she said, gripping my brother's shoulder, "and especially my brave sister-in-law for carrying our baby." The room went silent. Forks stopped moving. My aunt's mouth fell open. I felt the blood drain from my face. "What?" My brother wouldn't meet my eyes, just stared at the cake while Veronica continued her performance. "IVF failed us 3 times, but family stepped up when we needed them most." She dabbed at dry eyes. "Our daughter will know how loved she is." Ethan, my husband, stood so fast his chair crashed backward. "Your daughter?" His voice was deadly quiet. "This is our child." Veronica's smile never wavered. "Of course you'd say that publicly. We agreed to keep the arrangement private until after the birth." My hands shook as I gripped the table. "There's no arrangement. This is my baby." She pulled out her phone, swiping to a document. "Then why did you sign this surrogacy agreement?" I snatched the phone. There it was. My signature on a contract I'd never seen, dated 3 weeks ago. My signature, perfectly forged. "You're insane," I whispered. But Veronica was already addressing the room. "She's emotional. Surrogates often struggle with attachment. We've been seeing a counselor about it." My aunt stood up. "If she says that's her baby, we have documentation." My brother finally spoke, his voice flat. "Medical records showing our embryo transfer." More forged documents appeared. Fertility clinic letterheads I recognized, where she worked as an administrative assistant. Records showing my name as a gestational carrier. Fake email exchanges discussing compensation. The room erupted, half the guests confused, the other half taking sides. Ethan was calling our lawyer while I sat frozen, feeling my daughter kick. That night, we discovered the depth of their deception. Veronica had been building this narrative for months, telling coworkers about their surrogate, posting in online support groups, creating an entire digital footprint of a lie. The security footage from my OB's office, where I'd supposedly signed, had mysteriously corrupted. The notary didn't exist, but the signature looked so real, our own lawyer hesitated. "Fighting this could take years," he said. My brother showed up at 2 a.m., drunk and crying. "It was supposed to be simple," he slurred. "She said you'd understand. After the baby was born, we'd share her. You tried to steal my child. Veronica can't have babies. The IVF destroyed her. She started saying things, that God wanted her to have your baby. And you went along with it?" He collapsed against the doorframe. "She said she'd kill herself if she couldn't be a mother." 3 days later, Veronica filed for emergency custody, claiming I was an unfit mother having a psychiatric break. The judge, reviewing her forged documents, granted her temporary visitation rights. The doorbell rang the next morning. 2 officers stood beside Veronica, who wore a new maternity shirt, padded to look pregnant. "I'm here for my scheduled prenatal bonding time," she said. When I tried to close the door, the officer stepped forward. "Ma'am, we have a court order." Behind them, my brother sat in their car, recording everything. Something in his expression had shifted, like he'd finally realized what he'd unleashed. Veronica pushed past me into my home, heading straight for the nursery. She ran her fingers over the crib, picked up the stuffed elephant Ethan's mother had knitted. "This is all wrong," she murmured. "She needs lavender, not yellow." Then she turned to me, one hand on her fake belly, and smiled. I watched her stand in the center of my daughter's nursery, touching everything with possessive fingers. The mobile I'd spent hours assembling, the rocking chair Ethan had refinished, the blanket my grandmother had crocheted before she died. "You need to leave," I said, my voice shaking. "The court order says I have 2 hours. Veronica settled into the rocking chair, still stroking her fake pregnancy belly. "I'm just getting to know my daughter's space." One of the officers cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we need to stay present during the visitation." "Of course," she smiled at him. "I understand the protocol." I stood in the doorway, trapped in my own home. Ethan had gone to an emergency meeting with our lawyer. My phone buzzed with texts from family members who'd been at the shower, most asking what the hell was happening. A few from my brother's side saying they always knew I was unstable. Veronica pulled out her phone and started taking pictures. The nursery from every angle, close-ups of the clothes in the dresser, the books on the shelf. "What are you doing?" "Documenting." She didn't look up. "For when we transition her to her real home." This is her real home. She finally met my eyes. "Not according to the courts." The 2 hours crawled by. She measured the room, took notes about which items she'd replace, asked the officers detailed questions about how custody transfers usually worked after birth. They shifted uncomfortably, but answered. When she finally left, she paused at the door. "See you tomorrow," she said brightly. "Same time." I locked the door behind her and slid down to the floor. My daughter kicked hard, as if she knew, as if she was telling me to fight. Ethan came home an hour later, his face gray. "The lawyer says the forged documents are good. Really good. The signature analysis will take weeks. The fake medical records check out against the clinic systems because she has admin access. So what do? We prove she's lying. Somehow." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, feeling my daughter move, and thought about everything Veronica had said and done. The timeline didn't make sense. She claimed they'd arranged the surrogacy, but I'd gotten pregnant the normal way. Ethan and I had been trying for 2 years. I pulled up my medical records on my phone, all my prenatal appointments, my initial positive pregnancy test at my doctor's office, the dating ultrasound that confirmed conception during our anniversary trip to Maine. None of it matched a surrogacy timeline. At 3 a.m., I started digging into Veronica's online presence, the support group posts she'd made about their surrogate. The first one was dated 4 months ago, when I was already 3 months pregnant and showing. I screenshot everything. Then I found something else. A private Instagram account she'd forgotten to make fully private. Photos from a year ago of her and my brother on a vacation. In one beach photo, you could see her medicine bottles on the hotel nightstand. I zoomed in. Antipsychotics. Mood stabilizers. My hands shook as I forwarded everything to our lawyer. The doorbell rang at exactly 10 a.m. Veronica stood there with a different officer, holding a bag from a baby store. "I brought some things," she said, pushing past me. "Since you haven't properly prepared." She went straight to the nursery and started pulling out items. Lavender paint samples, new bedding, a different mobile. "You're not changing anything in this room. The court order says I can participate in preparing for the baby. It says you can visit, not redecorate." She ignored me, holding up paint samples against the wall. The officer looked increasingly uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I don't think—" "Officer, I'm simply ensuring my daughter has an appropriate environment." Veronica's voice stayed sweet. "Surely you understand a mother's concern? She's not your daughter." Veronica turned to me, her smile finally slipping. "Yet. But every day you're closer to delivery, and every day I'm building my case." After she left, I noticed she'd swapped out 3 of the books on the nursery shelf, removed the ones I'd carefully selected, and replaced them with her choices. I took photos, documented everything. That afternoon, Ethan came home with news. "I hired a private investigator, former FBI. He's going to tear apart her story." What did the lawyer say about my evidence? "He's excited about the timeline discrepancies and the medication photos, but he says we need more. Veronica's too careful. She's created a believable story." Believable to who? To a family court judge who sees surrogacy disputes regularly, who might think a pregnant woman is just hormonal and confused. I wanted to throw something. Instead, I called my doctor's office. "I need copies of everything," I told the receptionist. "Every note, every test, every ultrasound. I need proof this is my pregnancy." "Of course, but Mrs. Chen, your sister-in-law already requested the same records yesterday." My blood went cold. "What did you give her?" "Everything you've requested. She had your authorization form." "I never signed an authorization form." Silence on the other end. "I'm looking at it right now. It has your signature and is notarized." Another forgery. "I need to speak to the office manager. Now." That conversation led to 3 more. The office manager to the clinic director to their legal counsel. By the end of the day, they'd confirmed the authorization form was fraudulent. They'd given my complete medical file to Veronica based on a forged document. "We'll submit an affidavit," their lawyer said, confirming the fraud. "Will that help? It proves she's willing to commit crimes to get what she wants." That night, Veronica showed up unannounced. No officer, no court order. Just her, standing on my porch at 9 p.m. "We need to talk," she said. "Woman to woman. Leave. Now, please." Her voice broke. "Just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. I kept my phone in my hand, recording. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Because God told me to." She said it so matter-of-factly. "The night we lost our 3rd IVF pregnancy, I prayed. I begged him for a sign, and then I found out you were pregnant. That's not a sign. That's coincidence." "No." Her eyes were too bright. "It was divine intervention. You already have everything. A good marriage, financial stability. You don't need this baby the way I do. She's my daughter. She's meant to be mine." Veronica grabbed my wrist. "I've prepared for her. I've dreamed about her. I know what she looks like already. Dark hair like your brother." My eyes. "She's going to love piano and strawberries and—" "You're describing a fantasy. I'm describing my daughter." Her grip tightened. "And you can choose to do this the easy way, or I'll make your life hell until you do." I pulled free. "I'm going back inside. Don't come here again without a court order. Every judge will see the truth eventually," she called after me. "That you were always just the vessel. That she was meant to be mine." I locked the door and pressed my back against it, feeling my daughter kick. The recording on my phone had captured everything. Ethan came home minutes later to find me shaking in the hallway. "She's completely delusional," I said. "This isn't about infertility. This is psychosis. We can use that." "How?" "The courts already gave her visitation rights, because they thought she was a grieving intended mother in a surrogacy dispute, not a woman having a psychotic break who's trying to steal a baby." The next morning, our lawyer filed an emergency motion to revoke Veronica's visitation rights. We submitted the recording, the evidence of forged medical authorizations, the timeline discrepancies, and my doctor's affidavit. The judge granted an expedited hearing for 3 days later. Those 3 days were the longest of my life. Veronica tried to show up twice more, banging on our door when we wouldn't answer. We called the police each time. They escorted her away with warnings. My brother finally called. "I didn't know," he said. "I swear I didn't know it had gone this far." "You knew enough. You went along with it." She said it was just going to be a conversation, that you'd secretly been wanting to give us the baby but were afraid to admit it. She showed me texts between you two. "What texts?" "About how hard pregnancy was. How scared you were about being a mother." "I never sent her those texts." "I'm seeing that now." His voice cracked. "I'm such an idiot. I wanted to believe her because watching her hurt was killing me. The infertility destroyed her, and I thought if I could just give her this one thing." "You can't give her someone else's child." "I know. God, I know. I've already filed for divorce, and I'm going to testify against her at the hearing." "Why should I trust you?" "Because I found the rest of her plan." He came over an hour later with a laptop. His face was haunted. "I started going through her computer after your lawyer filed the motion. I wanted to know what I'd missed." He opened a folder. "This is what I found." Inside were hundreds of documents. A detailed month-by-month plan starting from when I'd announced my pregnancy. Notes about how to forge documents. Research on custody laws. Lists of people to tell the surrogacy story to, with check marks next to the ones she'd already approached. But the worst part was the subfolder labeled "After." Inside were documents for a new identity for the baby, a fake birth certificate with Veronica and my brother listed as parents, plane tickets to Portugal dated 2 weeks after my due date, rental agreements for an apartment in Lisbon. She was going to take her, I whispered, the day after the birth. She'd already found a doctor overseas who would create a false medical history. No one would be able to prove the baby wasn't hers. You knew about this? No, I swear. She kept this laptop locked. I only got into it because I found the password written in her journal. Ethan looked ready to put his fist through a wall. We're submitting all of this. My brother nodded. Whatever you need, I'll do whatever it takes to stop her. The hearing was held in a cramped courtroom that smelled like old wood and desperation. Veronica arrived with her lawyer, wearing a conservative dress and a string of pearls. She looked like a grieving mother, not a criminal. Our lawyer presented first the timeline evidence, the forged documents, my doctor's testimony about my natural conception, the medication photos suggesting mental instability. Then he played the recording. Veronica's voice filled the courtroom. She was meant to be mine. You were always just the vessel. Her lawyer objected. This was taken without my client's consent. In a one-party consent state, our lawyer countered. On the plaintiff's own property after the defendant arrived uninvited. The judge listened to the full recording without expression. Then my brother took the stand. He testified about Veronica's increasing obsession with my pregnancy, how she'd started wearing maternity clothes around the house, how she'd converted their guest room into a nursery identical to mine, how she'd made him practice holding a baby doll, correcting his technique for hours. She'd talk to her stomach, he said. Even though she wasn't pregnant, she'd sing lullabies and tell the baby stories. At first, I thought it was grief, a coping mechanism, but it kept escalating. Veronica's lawyer tried to redirect. Isn't it true your wife suffered severe trauma from multiple failed IVF cycles? Yes. And that trauma could manifest in unusual coping behaviors? Objection, our lawyer said. The witness isn't a mental health professional. Sustain. The lawyer tried again. Did your wife ever express suicidal ideation due to her infertility? My brother looked directly at Veronica. Multiple times. She said if she couldn't be a mother, she didn't want to live. And you were desperate to help her? I was desperate to save her, but I didn't understand she was trying to steal my sister's baby until it was too late. When they tried to call Veronica to testify, her lawyer advised against it. Instead, they submitted a psychological evaluation from her therapist, claiming she was of sound mind and suffering from complicated grief. Our lawyer submitted a competing evaluation from a forensic psychologist, who'd reviewed all the evidence. His conclusion: Veronica showed signs of erotomania, delusional belief that she had a special relationship with my unborn child, and demonstrated dangerous obsessive behaviors consistent with psychotic features. The judge called a recess. We sat in the hallway for 90 minutes while she reviewed the evidence. When we returned, her expression was grave. I've reviewed all submitted materials. The evidence of document forgery is overwhelming. The timeline discrepancies are unexplained. Most concerning is the evidence of a premeditated plan to abduct a newborn infant. Veronica grabbed her lawyer's arm. He whispered something to her, but she shook her head violently. The temporary visitation order is hereby revoked. Additionally, I'm issuing a restraining order. Mrs. Bennett is prohibited from coming within 500 feet of the plaintiff's home, or any medical facility where the plaintiff receives care. Your Honor, Veronica's lawyer stood. My client has invested significant emotional energy. Your client has committed multiple counts of forgery and attempted fraud. I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Veronica stood up screaming, "She's my baby! God gave her to me!" Security guards moved toward her. She tried to lunge across the courtroom toward me. My brother and Ethan both jumped in front of me. "The baby knows me!" Veronica shrieked as they restrained her. "She knows my voice!" She kicks when I talk to her. You can't take her away from me. They dragged her from the courtroom, her screams echoing down the hall. The judge looked at me with something like pity. I'm sorry you've had to endure this. I'm also ordering a psychiatric evaluation before any criminal charges proceed. Ethan held my hand so tight it hurt. Is it over? For now, the judge said. But I'd recommend increased security until after the birth and beyond. We left through a side exit to avoid news cameras. My brother caught up with us in the parking garage. I'm sorry, he said. I know that's not enough, but I'm so sorry. I looked at him. This person I'd grown up with, who I'd trusted completely. You almost cost me my daughter. I know. Sorry doesn't fix that. I know that too. His eyes were red. I'm going to testify at the criminal trial. I'm going to make sure she pays for this. And what about you? What do you pay? He had no answer. We left him standing there. That night I couldn't stop shaking. Ethan held me while I cried. She really believed it, I said. She actually thought she had a right to our baby. Delusion is a hell of a thing. What if she tries again, after the baby's born? Then we'll deal with it. But right now, she's locked in a psychiatric facility pending evaluation. How long will that last? The lawyer thinks at least 6 months. Long enough for you to give birth. Long enough for us to relocate if we need to. I'm not running from my own life. I know, but I need you to be safe. The next 2 months passed in a haze of anxiety. We installed a security system, changed our phone numbers. I took leave from work early because I couldn't focus. My brother called once a week, leaving voicemails I didn't return. My parents tried to mediate, suggesting I was being too harsh. That Veronica was sick and needed support, not punishment. She tried to steal my baby, I told my mother. Your grandchild. She's mentally ill. She needs help. She needs to be in prison. We stopped speaking after that. The district attorney moved forward with charges: forgery, fraud, attempted kidnapping, and stalking. My brother's testimony and the evidence from Veronica's computer made the case solid. Her lawyer tried to negotiate a plea deal. Psychiatric treatment instead of prison. Probation instead of jail time. We refused. She planned this for months, I told the DA. She knew exactly what she was doing. Her mental health evaluation shows significant impairment. It also shows she understands right from wrong. That's the legal threshold. I gave birth to Iris on a Tuesday morning. We'd chosen the hospital carefully, one 40 minutes away that Veronica didn't know about. Security had her photo and strict instructions. Ethan cut the cord. I held her for the first time. She had dark hair and my eyes and her father's nose. She was perfectly, completely ours. We stayed in the hospital for 2 days. Security changed our room number twice after someone called claiming to be my sister-in-law asking about my room location. When we brought Iris home, our street looked different. Ethan had arranged for a security guard to patrol during the day. Our neighbors had been briefed. Everyone was watching. The trial began when Iris was 3 months old. I had to testify while leaving her with Ethan's mother, terrified the entire time. Veronica sat at the defense table looking small and medicated. Her hair had gone gray. She'd lost weight. When our eyes met, I felt nothing but cold rage. The prosecution walked through the evidence systematically. The forged documents, the fake pregnancy, the Portugal escape plan, my brother's testimony about her escalating delusions. Then they called me. "Can you describe the emotional impact of the defendant's actions?" the prosecutor asked. I spent the last 2 months of my pregnancy terrified. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't enjoy preparing for my daughter because I was afraid someone would take her away. How has this affected your relationship with your family? My parents think I'm overreacting. They think I should be more sympathetic because Veronica is sick. But being sick doesn't give you the right to try and steal someone's child. Oh, what would you like to see happen? I want her away from my family. Forever. The defense tried to paint me as vindictive, unwilling to understand Veronica's pain. They brought in her therapist who testified about the trauma of infertility. It can drive someone to desperate measures, the therapist said. Does trauma excuse forgery? The prosecutor asked on cross-examination. No. Does it excuse planning to flee the country with someone else's infant? No. Does it excuse terrorizing a pregnant woman? The therapist hesitated. No. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the forewoman wouldn't look at Veronica. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was scheduled for a month later. Veronica was remanded to custody. As they led her away, she looked back at me one last time. I could have loved her, she said. I would have been a good mother. You'll never know, I replied. The judge sentenced her to 8 years with the possibility of parole after 5, contingent on continued psychiatric treatment. The restraining order was made permanent. My brother filed for divorce while she was awaiting sentencing. He moved to a different state. We haven't spoken since the trial. Iris is 2 now. She has no idea how close she came to being stolen before she was even born. Sometimes I think about Veronica in prison, whether she still thinks about the daughter who was never hers, whether the medication has finally cleared the delusion. Mostly I try not to think about her at all. But every time someone asks about Iris's family, I have to decide how much to tell them. Every time we go somewhere new, I'm scanning for Veronica's face even though I know she's locked up. Ethan says I should see someone, work through the trauma, but talking about it means reliving it, and I've relived it enough. My parents reached out last month. They want to meet their granddaughter. They want to put this all behind us. I told them we'd consider it. I probably won't. Some betrayals are too big to forgive. Some wounds don't heal just because time passes. Because at the end of the day, they chose to defend the woman who tried to steal my child over protecting their own daughter. And I chose to protect mine. That's a choice I'll make every single time. Last week, I got a letter. Prison postmark, Veronica's name and the return address. I threw it away without opening it. Ethan found it in the trash that night. Aren't you curious? No. What if she's apologizing? I don't care. But he opened it anyway. Read it while I put Iris to bed. When I came back down, he was sitting at the kitchen table. The letter spread in front of him. What did it say? That she forgives you. I laughed. Actually laughed. She forgives me? For not understanding what God wanted. For being too selfish to share. She's still delusional. The letter is coherent. Logical even. Just completely disconnected from reality. I took the letter and read it myself. Veronica's handwriting was neat, controlled. She wrote about her therapy sessions, her medication regimen, her cellmate who'd become a friend. And then, in the final paragraph, when I get out, I hope we can have a real conversation about Iris's future. She deserves to know both of her mothers. I burned it in the sink. We need to document this, Ethan said. Show it to the lawyer. Why? She's in prison. For now. But parole hearings exist. And if she's still claiming maternal rights, she has no rights. She never did. I know, but we need to prove she's still a threat. He was right. We forwarded the letter to our lawyer, who added it to the growing file of evidence in case Veronica ever tried to reduce her sentence or modify the restraining order. This actually helps us, the lawyer said. It shows continued delusional thinking. No remorse. No acceptance of reality. It'll make parole much harder. Good, I thought. Let her rot there. Iris's 3rd birthday came. We threw a small party at our house. Just close friends and Ethan's family. My parents weren't invited. My mother sent a card anyway. Inside was a check for $5,000 and a note. For Iris's college fund. We love her even if you won't let us know her. The guilt angle. Classic. Ethan's mother saw me reading it. What does your heart say? That I can't trust them. They defended her. They thought I was overreacting while a crazy woman tried to steal my baby. People make mistakes. Some mistakes are unforgivable. But that night, watching Iris sleep, I wondered if I was being too harsh, if I was depriving her of grandparents out of spite. Ethan found me in her doorway. You're thinking about the card. She's their granddaughter. She's also your daughter. You get to decide who's in her life. What if I'm making the wrong choice? Then you'll make a different choice later. But right now, trust your instincts. My instinct said stay away. Keep Iris safe. Don't let anyone near her who'd chosen Veronica's delusion over my reality. So that's what I did. until my father showed up at our door 3 months later, looking 10 years older. "Your mother's sick," he said without preamble. "Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 3 months, maybe 6. I felt like I'd been punched. When? They found it last month. She didn't want me to tell you. Why not? Because she's ashamed of how she handled everything with Veronica. She knows she failed you." I let him inside, made coffee, listened while he explained the treatment plan, the prognosis, the reality that my mother was dying. "She wants to meet Iris before," his voice broke, "before she can't anymore. I don't know if I can do that. She's your mother. She chose a psychopath over me. She made a terrible mistake, one she's lived with every day since." I thought about Iris growing up without grandparents, about the stories she'd never hear, about the hole that would leave. "One visit," I said finally, "supervised, at a neutral location, and if she says one word defending Veronica, we're done." He agreed immediately. We met at a park the following weekend. My mother looked frail, her skin yellow, her movements careful. But when she saw Iris, her whole face transformed. "She's beautiful," she whispered. Iris, being 3, was wary. She hid behind my leg, peeking out at this stranger. "This is Grandma," I said carefully. "She wanted to meet you." My mother knelt down, moving slowly. "I brought you something." She held out a small stuffed rabbit, worn and old, with mismatched button eyes. "This was your mommy's when she was little," she told Iris. "She loved it very much." Iris took the rabbit, examining it carefully. Then she smiled and hugged it. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We sat on a bench while Iris played. My mother watched her with an intensity that hurt to witness. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I was so wrong. I tried to see the best in everyone, and in doing so, I failed to protect you when you needed it most. You thought I was overreacting. I thought Veronica needed compassion. I didn't understand the danger. I didn't want to believe someone I knew could be that sick, that manipulative. She planned to kidnap my baby and flee the country. I know. Your father showed me the trial transcripts. All of them." She turned to look at me. "I read every word. I saw what she did, what she tried to do, and I've had to live with the fact that I made you face that alone. You chose her. I chose wrong. I chose to be understanding instead of protective, and I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry." We sat in silence. Iris brought her new rabbit over to show us, chattering about how his name was Hopper, and he liked carrots. "You've done a beautiful job with her," my mother said. "She's happy, confident, everything a child should be. No thanks to you." She flinched but nodded. "I know. I don't deserve to be part of her life, but I'm asking anyway. These last months I'd like to know my granddaughter." I watched Iris playing, thought about the years ahead when she'd ask about her grandparents. What I'd tell her. "Limited visits," I said. "Always supervised. And the first time you mention Veronica, we're done. I'll never speak her name again." Over the next 3 months, my mother visited once a week. She'd bring small gifts, read stories, teach Iris old songs. She never pushed for more time or unsupervised visits. She never mentioned Veronica or my brother or anything that had happened. She just tried to be a grandmother. When she entered hospice, we brought Iris to say goodbye. She didn't understand death, but she understood Grandma was sick. "I'm sorry I won't see you grow up," my mother told her, "but I'm so grateful I got to know you at all." She died 3 days later. At the funeral, my father approached me. "She left something for you." He handed me a letter, my mother's handwriting, shaky from medication. "Dearest daughter, I failed you when you needed me most. I chose to be understanding when I should have been protective. I chose to see the best in a dangerous person when I should have believed my own daughter. There is no excuse for that. No amount of saying sorry can undo the harm. But I want you to know that in these last months, watching you mother Iris, I've seen the strength I should have shown, the fierce protectiveness, the unwavering love. You didn't learn that from me. You learned it despite me. I'm proud of the mother you've become. I'm proud of the choice you made to protect your child, even when it meant cutting off your own family. That was the right choice. It will always be the right choice. Never doubt that. Mom." I read it twice, then a third time. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my wallet where it's stayed ever since. Ethan found me crying in the car after the funeral. "She apologized," I said. "Really apologized. She understood." "I know. I wish she'd understood sooner." "Yeah, but at least she understood it all." We never heard from my brother after the funeral. He sent a flower arrangement but didn't attend. I heard through my father that he'd remarried, started over in Colorado. Never spoke Veronica's name. Some families break and never heal. Some wounds are too deep. Iris is 7 now. She asks questions sometimes about why she only has one set of grandparents, why some of her friends have uncles and she doesn't. I tell her that families come in all shapes, that sometimes people make choices that mean they can't be in our lives anymore. She accepts this the way children accept everything, as a simple fact of her existence. She doesn't know about Veronica, about the woman who tried to claim her before she was even born, about the trial and the prison sentence and the letters that still arrive every few months. I've kept every letter, unopened, in a locked box in the attic. Evidence if we ever need it. Proof of ongoing delusion. Proof that some people never change. Last week, our lawyer called. Veronica's first parole hearing is scheduled for next month. Will she get out? I asked. Not likely. The psychiatric reports are damning. She still refers to Iris as her daughter, still believes she has maternal rights. But there's a chance? There's always a chance. So now I'm preparing, writing my victim impact statement, gathering documentation of the letters, making sure the parole board understands exactly who they're considering releasing. Ethan thinks I'm obsessing. Even if she gets out, the restraining order holds. She can't come near us. Restraining orders are paper. They don't actually stop people. So what do you want to do? Live in fear forever? I want to keep my daughter safe. She is safe. Veronica's been locked up for 7 years, and in 8 more, she'll be free regardless of parole. That's the thing that keeps me up at night. That someday, Veronica will be released. We'll be back in the world. We'll know that somewhere out there is the child she believes should have been hers. And then what? Do we move? Change our names? Live in hiding from a delusional woman who might show up any day? Or do we live our lives and hope the restraining order and the fear of going back to prison is enough to keep her away? There's no good answer. So we've prepared the best we can. Security cameras, extra locks, a plan for what to do if Veronica ever shows up, regular check-ins with local police. Iris's school has her photo and strict instructions. We've turned our lives into a fortress, and maybe we'll never need it, or maybe one day we will. The parole hearing came and went. Veronica was denied. The board cited ongoing mental health concerns and lack of remorse. She'll be eligible again in 2 years, and then 2 years after that, and so on until she served her full sentence. It's exhausting, this constant vigilance, this permanent state of waiting for the next threat. But it's also our reality, because I made a choice 7 years ago to fight instead of give up, to protect my daughter at any cost. And that cost has been higher than I imagined. My relationship with my parents, the connection to my brother, the easy innocence of life before I knew how cruel people could be. But when I look at Iris, laughing, playing, completely unaware of the danger she was in, I know it was worth it. Every sleepless night, every moment of fear, every relationship sacrificed, she's worth it all. And if Veronica somehow gets out someday, if she somehow finds us despite all our precautions, I'll fight her again. I'll fight her every single time, because that's what mothers do. Real mothers, not delusional women who think God gave them someone else's child. We protect what's ours. Last night, Iris asked me something that broke my heart. "Mommy, why do you always look so worried?" I realized she'd spent her whole life watching me be afraid, watching me check locks twice, watching me freeze every time the doorbell rings. "I just want to keep you safe," I said. "But I am safe. I'm right here." Such simple wisdom from a 7-year-old. She's right. She is safe. Right here. In this moment. Maybe it's time to stop living in fear of what might happen and start living in the reality of what is. Veronica is in prison. She's been in prison for years. And even when she gets out, she's a sick woman who's lost everything. Her husband, her freedom, her sanity. She can't hurt us anymore. Or maybe she can. Maybe this is the hurt. This fear that never ends. This constant vigilance that's stolen my peace and is now affecting my daughters. Ethan found me on Iris's floor after she fell asleep. "Therapy," he said. "Tomorrow. I'm calling someone tomorrow." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. Neither am I. We've been living in survival mode for 7 years. It's time to start healing." He was right. I'd been so focused on protection that I'd forgotten about recovery, so I started therapy. Every week. Sometimes twice a week when the nightmares got bad. My therapist helped me understand that trauma doesn't end when the threat does. That my body and brain were still in fight mode even though the fight was over. "You won," she told me. "You protected your daughter. You stopped Veronica. The court validated everything you said. You won. Then why do I still feel like I'm losing? Because winning doesn't mean the fear disappears. It means you survived. Now you have to learn to live, not just survive." It's been 2 years since I started therapy. Iris is 9 now. I still check the locks, but not compulsively. I still have her photo at the school, but I don't panic every time I'm late for pickup. I'm learning to live with the scars instead of letting them define every moment. Veronica was denied parole again last year. She'll be eligible one more time before her mandatory release. The lawyer thinks she'll serve her full sentence. Another 6 years. 6 years where Iris will grow from a child to a teenager. 6 years where we can build a life not defined by fear. And then what? I don't know. But I'm learning that not knowing is okay. That I can't control everything, that hypervigilance doesn't actually keep us safer, it just makes us exhausted. My father asks sometimes if I regret cutting off my brother, if I'll ever reconcile. The answer is no. Some betrayals are too complete. Some choices reveal character too clearly. He chose Veronica over me, over his niece, over reality itself. And even though he eventually came around, even though he testified against her, the damage was done. Because in that moment when I needed him most, he wasn't there. Just like my parents weren't there. Just like so many people who should have protected me, chose instead to question my reality. That's the loneliest part of all this. Not Veronica's delusion, but how many people were willing to believe it. How many people thought a pregnant woman was the hysterical one, not the woman planning to kidnap her baby? Society wants to see the best in people, to believe that mothers, even delusional ones, deserve compassion, to think that surely there must be 2 sides to every story. But sometimes there aren't 2 sides. Sometimes one person is completely, dangerously wrong. And the people who can't see that, who keep looking for nuance where there is none, they're almost as dangerous as the original threat. Because they make you question yourself, make you wonder if maybe you are overreacting. Maybe you should be more understanding. Maybe you're the problem. That's what my parents did, what my brother did, what half the people at that baby shower probably thought. And that's what I had to fight through. Not just Veronica, but the chorus of voices telling me to calm down, to see her side, to have some compassion. Screw that. Compassion doesn't mean letting someone steal your child. Understanding doesn't mean tolerating abuse. Having empathy for mental illness doesn't mean accepting criminal behavior. I learned those lessons the hardest way possible, by nearly losing everything, but I didn't lose it. And maybe that's enough. Maybe surviving with scars is better than not surviving at all. Iris starts 4th grade next week. She wants to join the soccer team. She's already picked out her cleats, bright pink with purple laces. She's so normal it makes me want to cry. So completely unaffected by the trauma of her early days. That's what I protected. That normalcy, that joy, that innocence. And when she's older, when she asks why she doesn't have an uncle or maternal grandparents, I'll tell her the truth. That someone tried to take her before she was born, that I fought to keep her, that some people chose the wrong side, and that I'd do it all again, without hesitation, because she's worth fighting for. She always has been. From the very first moment I felt her kick, before Veronica ever knew about her, before the baby shower announcement, before any of it. She was mine, my daughter, my miracle, and nothing, no forged document, no court order, no delusional claim could change that. That's what I'll tell her someday. But for now, I'll just watch her pick out soccer cleats and complain about homework and be wonderfully, beautifully, completely normal. And I'll be grateful for every single ordinary moment, because I know how close we came to losing them all. The end came in a way I never expected. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Iris had soccer practice. I was sitting on the sideline with the other parents, watching her chase the ball with fierce concentration. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mrs. Morrison, this is Warden Phillips from Greenfield Correctional. I'm calling about Veronica Bennett. My heart stopped. What about her? I'm sorry to inform you that Mrs. Bennett passed away this morning. The world tilted. What? She had a heart attack during recreation time. The medical team attempted resuscitation, but she was pronounced dead at 10:42 a.m. I couldn't process the words. Veronica was only 42, healthy as far as I knew. Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. The coroner is performing an autopsy, but it appears to be a natural cardiac event. Natural. As if anything about this situation was natural. I wanted to inform you personally due to the restraining order. You won't need to worry about any future contact. Thank you, I managed. I sat on the bench after hanging up, watching Iris play. The woman who'd tried to steal her was dead. Simply dead. No more parole hearings, no more letters, no more fear. It was over. Really, truly over. I started crying without meaning to. Another parent asked if I was okay. I nodded, unable to explain that these were tears of relief so profound they felt like grief. When I told Ethan that night, he held me for a long time. It's over, he whispered. It's over, I repeated. We didn't celebrate. You don't celebrate death, even when it's someone who tried to destroy you. But we did breathe easier, sleep better. The constant vigilance finally began to relax. My brother called 3 days later. I actually answered. I thought you should know, he said. The funeral is Saturday. Small service. Just me and a few people from her family. I won't be there. I didn't think you would, but I wanted you to know she's really gone. That it's really over. How do you feel about it? He was quiet for a long time. Relieved. Guilty about being relieved. Sad for the person she used to be before the mental illness took everything. Angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. Yeah, I know I don't have the right to ask this, but Iris, can I see a picture? Just one? I thought about it. About everything that had happened. About the fact that Veronica was dead and couldn't hurt us anymore. No, I said finally. That door is closed. I understand. Do you? Because you let your wife try to steal my baby. You believed her lies. You recorded me at my own house. You were complicit in all of it until it became too real to deny. I know. I live with that every day. Good. Because I lived with terror every day for years. Still do, even though she's gone. You don't get to see pictures. You don't get updates. You don't get anything. I know. I hung up. Ethan asked if I felt better. I did. I'd finally said all the things I'd needed to say. My brother didn't call again. The weeks passed, then months. The absence of fear felt strange at first. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for some new threat to emerge. But nothing did. Life just continued. Normal, beautiful, boring life. Iris made the traveling soccer team. She got a new best friend named Riley. She started piano lessons and complained about them exactly the way kids complain about piano lessons. She was just a kid, living a kid's life. And I was just a mom, living a mom's life. No more court dates. No more victim impact statements. No more checking the prison release schedule. Just school pickups and soccer practices and dinner at the table and homework struggles and bedtime stories. The ordinary miracle I'd fought so hard to protect. Last week, we were cleaning out the attic when I found the box. The one with all of Veronica's unopened letters. What's that? Iris asked. Just old paperwork, I said quickly. Nothing important, but she'd already seen the return address. The prison logo. Why do you have letters from someone in prison? I looked at Ethan. He shrugged. Your call. Because a long time ago, I said carefully, before you were born, there was a woman who was very sick. She thought you were supposed to be her daughter instead of mine. Iris frowned. But I am your daughter. Exactly, but she was confused. And she tried to make it be true, even though it wasn't. What happened to her? She went to prison for trying to take you away from me, and then she got sick and died. Iris processed this with the weird logic of children. So she can't try to take me anymore? No, sweetheart. Never again. Good. She went back to sorting through old toys. That was it. The trauma that had defined my life for years was, to her, just an interesting fact. That's when I knew she was going to be okay, that I'd succeeded in protecting her innocence. I took the box of letters outside that night and burned them, watched the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. Ethan stood beside me holding my hand. Any regrets? He asked. Only that it happened at all. But no regrets about how I handled it. You saved her. We saved her. He kissed my temple. She's one lucky kid. We're lucky parents. And we are. Lucky that it ended before anything worse happened. Lucky that the system eventually worked. Lucky that Veronica died before she could try again. Lucky in ways that still make me sick to think about. Because we shouldn't have had to be lucky. We should have been believed from the start. The system should have protected us. My family should have stood by me. But they didn't. And we survived anyway. That's not lucky. That's just what we had to do. Iris is 12 now. She doesn't remember Veronica's name. Doesn't think about the woman who tried to steal her. She just thinks about soccer and friends and school drama and all the normal things 12-year-olds think about. And I'm grateful for every single boring, normal day. Every argument about cleaning her room. Every eye roll when I make a dad joke. Every moment of normalcy we get to have. Because I know what we almost lost. I know what it feels like to have someone try to steal your reality, to gaslight an entire room, to forge documents and spin lies and manipulate systems. I know what it's like to fight for your child when half the world thinks you're overreacting. And I know what it takes to survive that and come out the other side. It takes everything, every ounce of strength, every bit of courage, every moment of clarity when the world is trying to convince you you're wrong. But mostly it takes stubborn, fierce, unbreakable love. The kind of love that says, this is my child, and you can't have her. The kind that fights court battles and endures family betrayal and never, ever gives up. That's what saved us. Not luck, not the system, not anything external, just a mother's love and a father's support, and a refusal to let anyone take what was ours. I look at Iris sometimes, almost a teenager now, so confident and bright, and I think about the alternate reality where Veronica succeeded, where the forged documents were believed, where the judge ruled differently, where she managed to take Iris to Portugal and disappear. That version of the story haunts me in quiet moments. But it's not what happened. What happened is we fought, and we won. And now Iris gets to grow up safe and loved and completely unaware of how close she came to being stolen. That's the real victory. Not the trial verdict or Veronica's death, but this. A 12-year-old girl who gets to be a 12-year-old girl, who doesn't know what it means to be gaslit or manipulated or threatened, who lives in a world where her biggest problems are homework and friend drama, who gets to have a normal childhood because her parents refused to let anyone take it away. That's what we protected. That's what we fought for. And looking at her now, I know it was worth every sleepless night, every moment of fear, every relationship sacrificed. She was worth it then. She's worth it now. She'll always be worth it. Because she's my daughter. Mine and Ethan's. Not because a document says so, or a court ruled it, or a DNA test proves it, but because we chose her. We fought for her. We protected her. And we always will. No matter what.